Hello there friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Victory Kitchen. Today we're going to be making a really versatile dish, a root veg mash. This can be used in many ways. You can use it as a side alongside other main meals such as pork loins and chops or spring vegetables, or you can use it to make a pastry topping, which is what we're going to be using it for later on today. For this dish you will need 2 medium to large potatoes per person, 1 medium to large carrot per person, half an ounce of butter per person. You'll need a masher, a grater, knife and a chopping board, salt and pepper, and a medium saucepan, half filled with water. Right, let's begin. First of all, we're going to turn the heat on this onto high to try and get the water hot enough so that when we're done chopping the potatoes, we can bung them straight in. So I've put mine on a medium to high heat just to get the water going. We're also going to very quickly salt the water to aid in the boiling process. For your potatoes, it's up to you entirely as to whether or not you want to grate them or peel them. I'm not going to bother. There are plenty of fantastic minerals within the skin itself, so I'm leaving it on. Regardless of whether or not you leave the skin on, you're going to want to make sure that you do still wash your potatoes before you start cutting them up, just to remove any pesticides or insecticides that may still be hanging around on your potatoes. Now, the smaller you chop your potatoes, the faster they're going to cook. You also want to make sure they cook at roughly the same pace. So for instance, this part is a really small bit of potato. I'm not going to be chopping that up. This part is quite chunky. I'm going to be cutting that in half and doing the same to any of the other quite chunky looking potatoes I find. And I can see now the water has started to have these little bubbles at the bottom of the pan there. That means that it's very nearly at that point that we want. Nice and hot, but not boiling yet. There we go, you can hear it bubbling now. I can look in, I can see that little bubbles are forming and popping up to the top of the surface of the water. So now is the point where I'm going to, very gently, make sure all of these potatoes, I said very gently, and I'm splashing it everywhere, go in the pan. Careful, you don't want to scald yourself on this water. We're now going to top and tail our carrot. And back in the war, you could use the tops and the tails of all your carrots and parsnips to make vegetable stock. I'm not going to be doing that today, but if I were, I would keep those separately into the side. We're now just going to grate the carrot. If you don't have a grater, what you can do is if you hold your knife like this, you can shave as though you were sharpening a pencil back at school with a knife or a stick, and that will do the job just as well as if you were going to grate the carrot. I'm going to finish this by actually grating the carrot since I do have a grater, but what I have got here will still go into the pan. Don't want wastage. Grate it directly into the pan. And as long as we can do this before the pan is boiling hot, we'll still retain many of those fantastic minerals and vitamins that are in the carrot itself. And again, you can choose whether or not you want to peel the carrot before doing this. Once more, I'm going to keep the skins on. For the same reason as the potatoes, there are some fantastic vitamins and minerals that you can only get from the skin of the vegetables that you wouldn't get if you didn't have that. The water's not yet quite boiled, which is good. As soon as it does start boiling, I'm either going to turn the temperature down, depending on how much of the carrot I've got left to grate. I've only got a little bit of the carrot left here. Or I can simply stop grating the carrot and just chow down on what's left while I wait for it to cook. In fact, I think that's just about enough now. When removing vegetables or anything from the inside of a grater, do be careful, as it's very, very sharp in the one direction, but not in the other direction. So in doing it, always go following the shape of the grater. The same is true for the inside of the grater. We go in and we're going to go with the shape. And just putty out all of these last little bits of carrot that we've got. Fantastic. These little shavings here, straight into the pan. That's it. Careful on that. There we are. Don't want the burning to the side. Pop the lid on and wait for it to come to the boil. Once the water has started boiling, we're going to wait for about 15 minutes until the potatoes are nice and tender. Then we're going to drain the water. There we are. You see this lovely froth around the edges of the saucepan here? That's when you know it's really starting to come to the boil. It's going to start bubbling quite nicely now. There we go. Did say I was going to chow down while I was doing this. That's it. And now we've hit the boil. We can see it bubbling around the edges there. As soon as it starts bubbling all along the circumference, we're going to turn the heat down to a gentle simmer, pop the lid back on, and set the timer for 15 minutes. Now I've got bits of carrot absolutely everywhere, and a good chef always cleans up as they go. So while I'm waiting for 15 minutes, I'm going to start clearing away everything that I've made a mess of. If I've got a dishwasher, I'm going to start putting stuff in the dishwasher. If not, now's as good a time as any to start washing things up by hand. Right, now I've noticed that as I've been cleaning up, the inside of the saucepan has started bubbling really quite viciously. So to try and mitigate that, because again we want this only on a gentle simmer, I'm simply going to just take the lid off. If it cools down to too much, pop the lid half on, like that, making sure there is a gap around the edge to let the steam escape. But otherwise, I want it nice and gentle, so I'm removing the lid for now. See, now this right here is a beautiful gentle simmer. Now I've only been going for about 3 minutes, so my potatoes are definitely not quite done yet. But with it gently bubbling like that, the bits of carrot floating to the surface and going back down again, potatoes bouncing away in the bottom there, that is a happy simmer and a beautiful looking saucepan. That's exactly what we're after. Right, so it's been about 12-13 minutes for me, which is the ideal time to start testing the potatoes. Now looking inside here, the water's got this lovely orange colour, really indicative of a good root vegetable simmer. I'm going to find one of the larger potatoes here using a fork. I'm going to try and stab into it nice and gentle and feel the resistance of the potato. This is a bit strange sounding, but if it feels crunchy, or it feels like the potato is biting back at you, then your potatoes aren't quite done yet. My potatoes, however, are really, really soft, and the fork is going through them like a dream. So, I can quite happily turn the heat off, because my potatoes are now done. Note on the top, we have this orange bubbly liquid on the top, almost a little bit like an orange pond scum almost. It's quite nice looking. Now, what you can do when you drain this is you can keep that separately and use that as vegetable stock, and that will make everything taste really, really sweet because we've been using a lot of carrots in with this. I'm just going to drain it now, and then we'll move on to the actual mashing process next. I'll show you how I drain as well without using a dedicated drainer. Now, without a drainer, we can be quite cheeky here and just use the lid of our saucepans. Pop it against the side, ensuring there's a little bit of space for the water to come through, but not enough for the vegetables. Now, I've let a few of the carrots come out there, but that's perfectly alright, as long as we're able to drain the liquid. That's the goal. We don't want any water in there if we can possibly help it. There we go. Beautiful. And there we have the contents of our saucepan, which we're going to mash directly. Right, now's the fun part. We get a little knob of butter, and we just chuck that in. Salt and pepper to taste. And then we start mashing. Now if you don't have one of these, a masher, they are quite cheap, but if you don't have one, we can also quite happily use a fork. And as long as we're doing sort of this rolling, mashing sort of movement, we'll get exactly the same results as if we'd used the masher. I'm going to be using the masher though. And when we mash, we want to get down as hard and as far in as we possibly can, and then do a bit of a cheeky turn while we're down there, just to make sure that everything's sort of mashed in nicely. And by turning when we go in, we're also mixing things up a little bit as we go in. And scrape away from the sides if at all possible. I wouldn't normally do this tilted, I'm just showing you what the inside looks like as we do it. This is where our fork comes in handy, we can start scraping it away from the masher itself. Always use the back of your fork so as not to damage the inside of your saucepan. I'm sort of whipping it around in a circular motion while I'm getting it all together. And now, scrape it out into a bowl, and it's ready to eat from the get-go. It may not look like much at the moment, with a final sort of mash as we go forwards. It's going to look and taste beautiful. It's a very, very cheap dish. It's also very filling as well. There we are, get as much out of there as you possibly can. That's it. Mash it a little bit further. Bit of stir. And then you can mess around with this, you can fanny about as much as you like until it looks like mashed potato with some orange bits in it. And we get full of vitamins and minerals, very good for you. Vitamins A and K are the predominant ones in this one. It's a very, very easy way to get your 5 a day. There we go. Beautiful. And again, you can start tasting right away. If you'd like, you can take this opportunity to add a little bit more salt and pepper as and when you need it. Oh, but that doesn't need it. That's beautiful. Right. Now, we can either use this mashed potato straight away as a side dish, or we can create a pastry crust out of it. It'll act exactly like short crust pastry, so any recipe requiring a short crust pastry, you can use this mash with. I'm going to be getting on with that right away because later on today, I'm going to be making a Lord Walton's pie, and this is going to top it for me and top it off beautifully. Right, very quickly, as I was clearing away between shots, if you happen to have a particular fondness for Chinese takeaways, as I do, or you know anybody that does, these takeaway tubs are fantastic for portioning out any of your side dishes You leave them in to cool with the lid like that until they hit room temperature, and you can pop them in the fridge and they'll keep for another 3 to 5 days. If you're going to be cooking in bulk, and because of how quick and easy this is to make, I really recommend it if you want to make more than one meal's worth out of this. Double or triple any of those measurements we used at the start. So instead of 1 carrot per person and 2 potatoes per person, think of it as per portion. So if I'm doing 2 meals, I'll use 2 carrots and 4 potatoes. For 3 meals, 3 carrots and 6 potatoes, and so on and so forth. But these things are fantastic for portioning your meals out across a week. And if you're saving money, that's the way to do it.